Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week's episode features Victor Ving of the Greetings Tour. You know, the greetings from murals that we've all seen in various cities around the States. So basically, greetings from Chicago, greetings from LA, like those big ones. Well, this guy is behind it. And I even replicated my own version of this idea to paint in my own hometown of Springfield, Missouri. And I've gotten several jobs simply from the recognition of doing that mural. And I'm a huge advocate of finding out what works, making it your own, and putting in the effort to make murals happen. And this is exactly what Victor and his wife did in order to get this project started. So if your city is lacking in the mural department and does not currently have a greetings from mural, I highly encourage you to take the initiative and create one. Obviously, don't copy Victor's style and always reference where you got the idea in the first place to give credit to the founder. But for every small town artist out there who is looking for an idea to get your name out there and you're wanting to get into murals, this is it. Listen to hear how Victor got his project started, the hoops he has to jump through to make them happen, and take notes of your own to make a plan for this upcoming year to possibly make a greetings from mural yourself. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Victor Ving of the Greetings Tour. Hey there, we are here with Victor of the Greetings Tour, and I'm so excited to be talking to you about how you got everything started and just your whole story and what the why. So fill us in.
Yeah, well, greetings. Right now I'm in Pasadena, California now. But so the Greetings Tour, just some general background info, is a project that my wife Lisa and I started in 2014. We were living in New York at the time, and we kind of packed our lives into an RV, and we traveled the country for a little over 5 years to create these large letter postcard mural landmarks throughout the country. So, I mean, today we have over 60 murals from coast to coast, everywhere from Orlando, Florida, all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. You know, it was something that we didn't intend on. We got the RV, we thought we'd do it for 1 year. And then next thing you know, it became 2 years and then 6 years. And then now we finally settled in Southern California, but we're still kind of touring part-time, getting these murals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did the first one come about? And then we'll get into questions about the logistics of this because there's so much behind just this style of mural.
Yeah. So it came about kind of unconsciously. I painted one in my neighborhood in Chinatown in New York. There was a wall that I always saw, and I was like, this would be perfect for something that just represents Chinatown. Because there's always this graffiti everywhere. I got that wall, we did it, greetings from Chinatown, and just the feedback from the community was different. And we just realized there was something there because it was a style that you can encompass like so many elements in, but it's like a cohesive like series that you can just apply to different places as you go. And then from there, I got really into the postcards themselves. I'm quite the nerd when it comes to these large letter postcards. So I have like a collection of them, studied the whole history. I could go on and on about that. But yeah, so I kind of just applied that and did a modern day large scale version of it to be interactive because no one really sends postcards anymore. So this is like a modern day version where people can take photos and send to family and friends and for social media, I guess.
Let's go into the history of the postcard really quick because I know nothing about this. And the Greetings from Springfield mural that I basically based on your murals, we really tried to, do that postcard theme. So can you tell us more about that?
So basically it started in like the mid-century in like the 40s. Before camera, so people would travel, and then this was their souvenir way of sending a message back to friends and family. So a lot of these were actually commissioned by cities. So they would, and it was a big company, based out of Chicago, which oddly enough was one of the first ones we did in the road. Was the Greetings from Chicago. We actually went to the building where most of these were printed back in the day. But yeah, they're called like Kurt Teich. And there's even an archive around Illinois and Wakanda, Illinois, of all these postcards. But it was this kind of, we really, like, the more I looked into history, it's kind of a similar process of how I designed these, which is, there's the shell of the letter. So all the lettering we do is like, it's not like existing fonts. They're all hand-drawn lettering. Like, I have a couple different alphabets for different, scales of walls and things like that. But yeah, so we work with the community. So I guess the difference with this style versus me just creating whatever my art is and just painting it wherever I go is that there's a huge element of community involvement in these, which as an artist sometimes could be a nightmare because there's like too many cooks in the kitchen, you could say. But we really strive to involve as much community as possible in each one of these that we create, because I at the end of the day, I want those that see this every day to have ownership of it, to feel a sense of pride when they see this. Plus, it's a little touchy because I'm traveling around doing the name of the city of where these people live. They're like, who is this outsider? So another thing I do is I always invite local artists to collaborate on each mural when possible. So kind of give them a letter as their own canvas and work together in that sense.
Okay. Yeah. I love this idea. I've done 2 of these, greetings from Springfield and greetings from Lockwood. And enough to know that, first off, the person commissioning it and then finding the funding for it and then everybody wanting a say in it, that is it's a big task. So who is first commissioning you for these? And are you pitching yourself to them, or now did you start pitching and now people call on you, or how does even the ball start to get rolling?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I can kind of, even before all this, I forgot to mention. So, we might go over this later, but this is helpful as a point of context, is that like my background, I never really had any formal art education. Like everything I learned was actually through graffiti growing up in New York. So all the murals are actually painted with spray paint as well, which is a bit unique. And for me, like I painted so much over time without the intention of even making a cent off these things that I painted for many, many years. At first, I was like, I didn't even consider like that I could make a living off doing murals like this. The first few that we did in like Chicago, Seattle, this was all out of pocket, just giving us creative freedom to do what we wanted. And I know people sometimes say exposure doesn't pay with artists, but in our case, it did help because you have to like just do something to show, what it is you're trying to do. So it kind of started just completely out of pocket and just doing these things for the city, because my background, I was just always writing my name again and again. It's like, who wants to see my name? I should be doing the name of something that means something to a lot more people. So that's how it came about. And then after we did a couple of these, then people started approaching us. And then, just kind of snowball effect of, just elevating the amount of detail we do in there. And then, nowadays we have a pretty streamlined process, but our clients range, mainly their cities that we work with. And then it ranges everywhere from like real estate developers to, we do a lot of branded stuff, but I don't associated with the Greetings Tour project necessarily. And a lot of like hospitality, hotels, and anything travel related, fits what we do. So.
Yeah. And so how do you decide what goes in each item? Is it different each time? Because when I've done it, the first time we put something out in a local magazine where people voted, because we were having trouble figuring out, like, do we put this and that or that? Like, and then the second time I did it, people just told me what to do. Like the mayor told me what he wanted. I was like, okay, great. Cause I wasn't from that town. So right. How does it figure out with you?
Yeah, we have like our own formula, because if you're painting in a big city, there's no way, everyone wants like everything to fit in here, and it's just not feasible, and plus it's just impossible to fit everything about a city, and art is subjective as it is. So we always try to hit an element of like a landmark, element of culture, element of history, and something with like nature. And then the fifth being some sort of local artist collaboration. It could be a painting. It could even be a contribution of photos from a local photographer, local sign painters we work with a lot of times. Those are kind of our key elements we try to include. But like you said, like we've done that before. We've done voting. I mean, it's the Democratic Party. It takes a long time, and I can say on average, like doing one of these the right way will take over a year to do it right. And to get as much input as possible. But at the end of the day, too, it's art. There's no right or wrong. So,
yeah. So with people wanting things included, I ran into an issue once where people wanted businesses included, to where it almost just became like a billboard of local businesses, and then we had to get permissions, and then we had to tone down the commercial aspect to make it add in more nature. Do you run into that? Like like the Chicago Cubs, do you have to get permission to do that? Or
yeah, that was definitely a learning process. At first, like we were like, hey, we want to, people are big sports fans in Chicago, so like, yeah, we'll just throw it in there. And then, I mean, it's not like they would have a problem with it, but I think later on we realized, as far as like licensing and the legal aspects of a lot of these things, we try to avoid that as much as possible. And like you said, we don't want these to become ads, so I always push against incorporating like logos and things like that these days.
Yeah. Okay. And then you said you have basically a streamlined process. Can you walk us through that streamlined process? So say someone wanted a streamlined process of this. Like what is your process? Say I contacted you and said, I'm from wherever. Like, how do we get this started? Like, say, do they typically have a building in mind where they want it?
Yeah. I mean, these days we're trying to limit them to like one per month. Just with travel, it gets hectic. We have a baby now, so it's like even harder to travel. But that's the first step, I guess, the wall, because you can't just start designing without knowing scale. And we have like a specific scale we always recommend. And even if the wall doesn't fit the scale, we would just recommend them creating the lettering within that scale, and we finish the rest of the wall in more of like an abstract background. More so, I mean, the reason being it's for photos, right? So we think about, you don't want the person that's interacting with it being tiny. We want people to get out of their cars and not just look at it from afar. But yeah, I mean, we and then as far as images go, I mean, we have like we created our own kind of spreadsheet of number of letters and number of images that go through the letters, that as far as like a rate goes. So we have like a design fee and then like the production fee. And the production is that it's like a whole matrix of number of letters and number of images. I mean, after doing this for so long, I just know like there's certain things that take longer, like buildings will take longer than something organic. And
what's the price range for something like this? So say, and I could give you an example of what, say I was hiring you to do one that was 20 foot by 10 foot and medium detail, I guess, is that enough to give you a price? Or and maybe there's like 7 letters, so like it's
yeah. I mean, on average, like realistically, for us to be able to take on project, it'd probably be like 50 grand and up, but that's inclusive of everything. That's inclusive of travel, preparing the wall. Sometimes we spend 3 days just prepping a wall, doing like stucco work. And the thing that's different, so my background also, I forgot to mention, I ran a mural agency for many years. So I've done commercial branded murals for many, many years. What I've realized, it's like there's a difference, because what we're doing is like we're creating this series of murals that we have been able to prove promotes tourism traffic, because people collect photos of these. So we have a thing called like a wall of fame. So if anyone goes to 10 or more of our murals, takes their photos in front of it, and then there's different tiers. If you get to 20, we give them like different prizes and gifts that we send people. And then our only ask is, if you do this, just support a local business when you're there, because in the end, that helps us. So we've had people, rent cars, drive 300 miles just to get photos. We have people plan vacations and trips just to hit different murals on their road trips. So there's like that added value that you can't really compare to just like a commercial mural, where someone wants something. There's an added element to that.
Yeah. What do you think about someone like me who's basically just copying you and being like, hey, I'm going to create one in my little small town? I'm sure many others have popped up too.
I mean, it's happened a lot, and even in the agency world. So all the time we would have people come to us and like, hey, can you do something like this? Can you do like this butterfly, one of those things? Or can you do this Tristan Eaton thing. I was like, yes, I can do it. Like I'm capable of doing this. But my thing's like I try to educate them on who is known for doing this. Like Kelsey Montague, she's the one that originated the butterfly wings or whatever. It's like, do you want to work with her? We'll connect you with her, as the consultant to do it right. Education to me is the most important, right? If not, we can do something in an original style. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't look good for a lot of these brands to be copying some well-known artists. You know what I mean? But ultimately, that's up to them too. So for us, it's like, believe me, nothing against you. Like all the time, this happens. I mean, what sucks the most is often when we do apply for some RFPs and then like they just take the entire concept and find someone to do it for less. But at the end of the day, it's not, for us, it's what this film is not a true greetings to a mural. So, I mean, they could paint whatever they want, really. So it's up to them. But I think for us, we just stay true to what we do. And I think in the long run, it'll always play out the right way,
Yeah, for sure. That's so funny because I've actually done butterfly wings, and that's what I became known for earlier.
Yeah. I mean,
early on, and right. I think it's just like these are small towns, but like so say Springfield, Missouri, like my town contact you. It's like, hey, we have $1,500 to do one. Can you come do one for us? Because that's what happened to me, basically.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so that's kind of how I think of it. Of like, I probably am not going to go to every small town and do them, but I feel like saving your stuff that you do for the bigger cities like Chicago and whatnot. I feel like those 50 grand murals are kind of your claim. And then I'm just kind of doing like little projects here and there.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because to be quite honest with you, all the big cities we've done is almost the opposite. We've done a lot of these out of pocket completely because the red tape and it's just, I don't know where a lot of the funding goes for these things, but it's some of our biggest projects are in the smallest cities, believe it or not, because they have the grants. And this is our style, I guess, is a very friendly introduction to murals, I guess like a safe and agreeable style that people are open to. But it's, it's rare, I guess. It's tough, sometimes we have these opportunities and the big cities where you would think a lot of the funding is. A lot of times we just do. But then, like I was saying earlier, we get a lot of eyes on those, and that kind of leads to some of these other opportunities. We do a lot of branded stuff as well, but like I said, I just don't attach. We don't post it on our Instagram. It's just kind of completely separate, and people that know, they know, but they're usually not like permanent public murals, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So
like events and like
yeah. So nowadays you're doing maybe one of these per month?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, that's all we can. It's just a lot of work. These things. I'm sure it's like just the design time going back and forth, travel, and But once a month is kind of what we limit ourselves to. But if we have to do more, then we can make it happen. We have like a team of artists throughout the country that we work. So every, like I was mentioning before, we collaborate with so many local artists with each mural that we've built this kind of team of artists that are great to work with. So like we just came back from a mural in St. Lucia, and there was an artist I used to work with back in New York. And then, he helped, we got him out there to assist us. So paying everyone back in a way,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so do you do mostly these greetings tour murals and then or maybe like 50-50 other work, or like what does your normal schedule look like nowadays?
Yeah, so it's something new because we only ended up in a static place since 2020, and then there's the pandemic. So like our whole thing was nowadays I'm really trying to do as much possible locally. The hard part with that is that we don't do more than one per city. So that's another reason why we charge what we charge, because we won't do more than one greetings from Pasadena mural.
Yeah.
But we do actually have others, like this poster behind me. So there's like two other styles that we do, which is this kind of Art Deco travel poster, and then another like a vintage luggage decal style that we do. So we will do like those three styles, but we won't do more than one large letter postcard per city. So yeah, it's tough. It's not like I can do too many of those here. So locally, I do various commission work, just to pay the bills. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have your RV?
We do, yeah. We're actually going to take it down to San Diego in November. We're actually going to do, for the first time, a unique building that has we painted a mural on the front of it a couple of years ago, and then now we're going to paint the back of a postcard on the back of the building.
Oh,
so it'll
cool.
be a fun little, with a message on it and everything. So yeah,
Awesome.
So we're still doing like shorter trips. We might next year drive up to Oregon to Bend. But we do have like a grant that we do every year where we basically donate a mural to a community. So we have people apply, and Bend actually won last year, but I don't know, it was a long process, so they still haven't selected a wall. So it's probably going to happen next year.
Yeah, it is a very long process.
Yeah.
The only small ones that I've done, 6 months or a year and a half to do stuff like that. So do you take your baby? How old is your son, daughter?
Son Felix, he just turned 7 months, and we did for the first time fly with him, and it was hard. So, yeah, it was tough. So I think we're gonna try the RV thing next, and then see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's very inspiring to me because I'm about to have a baby in a month.
Oh, congrats! So, yeah.
First
one. Is it your first? Oh,
yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how life will look, but I think it's going to be fun. So that it's fun for me. Yeah, you too. Yeah. It's fun for me to see our other artists doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you just go for it and just learn. It's a huge learning experience for us. Because Lisa's the other half. She documents, and I think that's something that's so important, is just the documentation of everything. Yes. I don't know if you looked at our site, but we have pretty thorough. I don't think anyone even reads blog posts anymore. But for us, it's almost like a journal.
Okay, so you paint and she documents. Is it, or do you guys intermingle those at all?
Yeah, she documents the whole process. She has from the beginning, and then when possible too, we if we're in a city for long enough, which was easier when we were on the road, like Lisa will take the photos of what I paint in the letters, because I have to be very careful. Again, a learning experience. I just want to make sure we're not just copying images and everything's original. And Lisa does paint. She paints a lot of background stuff. These days it's harder. So we have another full-time job on our hands with the baby. So.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap, to see how you got to where you are for other artists that are listening, you started out doing it basically for free, just to show what you can do and get your name out there. And then you got several of these jobs all over, and you traveled with it. And then now every artist needs to marry somebody who documents for them. That way they can get all the promotion and then keep growing. And also it's like a built-in babysitter too. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it seems like you're just living the dream. I love it. And I know that there's so many artists that are listening, and they're going to be like, that's so cool. You're doing the things. And do you have any business, advice for artists who are listening, who want to build a full-time art business like you're currently doing?
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I did the same. So prior to this, I actually worked I did marketing, but I was in the financial district in New York, 9 to 5 corporate job for 8 years. And during that time, I took on these commission murals any moment I could. And then a lot of times, because I was at a 9 to 5 and something had to be done for an event, for example, I just contacted some friends and built a little network of people to help me do it. And that's kind of where the agency grew out of. But for me, I just did it part-time to know that I could actually make some income from this before quitting. And then finally it was one day I was like, you know what, it's worth just trying it. What's the worst that could happen? I can always go back. But it's a decision that I do not regret at all. And I've actually had the same conversation with multiple other artists that were in the same shoes, and all of them, every single one of them, does not regret quitting to do what they have the passion for. So,
yeah, because I guess what's the worst that could happen? You could go back to a job. Might as well.
Yeah, you can always go back, and you'll never know, right? It's better than. I guess my thing is if you want to go the safe route, it does mean basically working 2 jobs for a good amount of time until you see that income. Otherwise, you're kind of going blind,
Yeah, for sure. Putting in those hours.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's all I had for today. Thank you so much for
coming on
and talking with us and all the things. Where can people find you? You're under Greetings Tour on Facebook. That's how I found you.
Greetings Tour. We probably use Instagram more, but it's I guess the same now, right? They cross post. But and greetingstour.com is our website. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. All right.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. And if you like hearing interviews just like this in your ear, if they inspire you, then I want to encourage you to go download the Audible version of my new book, Mural Money. It's a condensed version of basically all of the best tips given here on the podcast from guests, plus my own words of wisdom to help you get started in any art industry, plus stories of some hard lessons learned that I have never told before. You can pick up a copy at muralmoney.com. And again, I highly recommend the Audible version. I put a lot of tender love and care to make sure the Audible was extra special. It had some extra goodness in there. And it's really for any artist, but especially those wanting to make a profit from a paintbrush. Muralmoney.com. That's it. I'll see you next week.